Chris, it's so good to have you with us. We have many business people watching us now. We are very keen to hear what you're going to say. And for those of you who never met Chris, he led a small company to become the #1 in the world in their segment. It was the Daimler Chrysler railway division. And they went from 150 million to more than 2 billion euro revenue. So, Chris, you must understand a bit about strategic planning. What would you like to tell us about it? We're very keen to hear you.
I think, firstly, to try to define what is the purpose of your company and where you stand in the eyes of the customer. Because I think sometimes we live in a cocoon, particularly if we're in a fairly stable, static environment. I know my company was like this. And we thought we knew what our customer wanted and we supplied it as best we could. But the reality was it was somewhat different. And what we did was really to ask our customers, firstly, our direct customer, but does he have customers behind him? And in reality, you're not always focused on the right customer. In my business, it was the railway business, and we were supplying vehicles and repairs, so on. But we thought we were meeting our customers' needs by giving the right number of vehicles for repair or new build that was asked for every year. But in reality, the customer, the end customer, the passenger or the government actually were not satisfied at all because the quality of service wasn't good enough. And so when we searched what is the purpose of our company, which is the basis of any strategy, then you really start finding that there are a lot of opportunities out there which perhaps weren't evident just by looking at it simplistically. So one of the things that we looked for was customers dissatisfied with the reliability of services and the breakdowns maybe causing this problem. And the government said, oh, it's costing us a lot of money to provide money for this, these new vehicles. And what's the utilization of the vehicles? And when you look at this, suddenly our role as a supplier changed completely from just fulfilling orders. We suddenly started thinking, well, how can we create a solution to the companies, our customers. And so we changed our view totally and started looking at, well, how do we get value for money? That's one thing. So in other words, instead of 100 billion or 100 million pounds achieving services of 70 a day, we suddenly started achieving 92 a day after 1 year by changing the focus. And we also used our experience to get ahead of our competitors. There was an opportunity to say, well, what do our actual customers really need? They want vehicles that are going to be reliable with a maintenance cost year on year that they can rely on. And so we then developed lifecycle maintenance. And we obviously needed to get the vehicles designed better to be more reliable so that our contracts weren't too risky. And as a consequence of that, we did achieve great improvements, really. As a consequence, we became a market leader. But that opportunity is there, I'm sure, for a lot of, not exactly the same way, but it came about because we asked the customers, what did they want?
Fantastic.
And really understanding what their customers wanted as well. Mm-hmm. And then developing a concept which is going to satisfy all of that for us. And I think in tomorrow's world, the value for money is going to become even more crucial, particularly with the cost implications of the pandemic. And so I think we are in a changing world, but we're also in a world of opportunity, because whatever we were thinking in the past, it gives us a real opportunity to rethink the future and refocus our efforts to satisfy the future at minimum cost, because there's not a lot of money going to be around in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's suppose that you are running this company today. Would it be the first question you would ask in order to do your plans for 2021. So what my customers want. So suppose that you have to create a plan for next year. Is it the first question you would ask?
Yes. Yes, I think you also need to understand, identify opportunities. Today, compared with even 30, 40, 50 years ago, the rate of change is enormous. Mm-hmm. And I think most companies don't like to change too much. I mean, there's an inbuilt feeling that you lack security and continuity, you like everything to continue as it is forever. But the reality is it doesn't happen. So you have to face up and try to get ahead of the market and be one of the leaders. And I don't think that needs to be highly complex. I think what you've got to have is a clear focus, A, on what the market is wanting, the way it's moving, what have your customers been doing, and how have they adjusted? Have some adjusted better than others? And really understand what they are doing, because I don't always believe that you have to be the inventor yourself and the genius. I don't think I was, but I think I was quite good at picking up what other people were doing and also listening to what the customer was wanting, the real customer, and then channeling that into a fairly straightforward strategy for the future and a focus that everybody could latch onto in our team. And the customer could latch onto it, more importantly, because suddenly, within a very short period of time, we became a very desirable supplier to them, far better than we were before.
I like your approach of KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. I love it. Very important.
Well, I think you need to be fast. I mean, you can come up with grandiose schemes and big buildings, big changes to cities, and or whatever it might be. But one thing, whilst you're dreaming about all these things, you're out of business because you've gone bankrupt, and particularly in today's market. So I think whatever plans and ideas that you find that you need to implement by talking to the customers and looking at your competitors, it needs to be quick. And if to be quick, it needs to be simple. And depending on the size of your company, the bigger the size, the better it is if it is reasonably simple for everybody to understand. The most dangerous competitor often is the very small one that is nimble. And so, whatever your size is, you need to match that. And that was one of the challenges that we had. We restructured our company to make them smaller units, each of the elements, so that they could be nimble and react quicker or as quick as our best competitor.
Fantastic. Anything else, Chris, that you'd like that would be essential for a company to do their strategic plans for next year?
Well, I think it's getting metrics. If you identify what you'd like to do, I think you need to establish what are the key metrics to make you a market leader, and what do you need to monitor in your change program that you develop over the next year. Say, what's the key metrics that are going to make it change? For me, it was the throughput times of vehicles. So instead of being 6 weeks, it was we wanted to get it down to 3 weeks or less. So we had metrics which was measuring how that achievement was happening. And simple metrics, it doesn't have to be clever, but religiously monitor them and make sure that those simple metrics are being achieved. And I think that's the most crucial element that we did every week, monitoring those metrics.
Fantastic, wonderful. Chris, thank you so much for your contribution. We are so glad that we will meet you again when we have our business mentoring program. Thank you so much for agreeing to be part of that. It's such a privilege to have the contribution of someone with your experience, with your track record. That's amazing. Thank you so much for your time. All the best.
Cheers. Thank you. Bye.